As we begin to tie it up on the show this morning, we're joined by Paul Alaje via Zoom live from Lagos, Nigeria. Paul Alaje is an economic analyst as well as chief economist at SPM Professionals. Paul, thank you for breaking through your schedule to join us on the program this morning. Deeply appreciated. We are just going to run through this real quick. Juma, my colleague, has a few questions for you, but let's get the ball rolling. Now we understand there has been so much drama about the social investment programs of the federal government. For the records, those programs didn't start running today. In fact, a good number of those programs precede the time of Sadiya Umar Farouk in office. We had seen Shopi, Yuwen, and the likes of them. As of today, it is clear that the President has given an order for at least 4 of the major programs under the SIP to be suspended. Let's talk about the economics and socials of this conversation.
Well, social investment program is very essential. I must say that they've had some minimal impact on the economy, but whether those impacts are sufficient is another conversation entirely. We have seen the corruption and allegation that have been around this social investment program. We have also seen that some international organizations have mandated that when they make refunds to Nigeria, those monies must go into social investment programs. We have seen World Bank, some of the looted funds in our country, when they were returned, they have been mandated that such money must be returned for social investment program. But how many people have we been able to lift out of poverty through this social investment program? Very few. I mean, in fact, we have had a higher number of people joining the poverty bracket. How many people have we been able to help? It's also really very few. So the impact of social investment is not really as positive as many would ask. And what we have seen with the current minister seems to be a blow in the face of the population. We have seen the former minister being invited. One of the persons managing one of the agencies has also been invited. We have seen that the entire process seems to be shredded in corruption. And corruption is a major challenge for us as a country. And if we continue to allow those who are corrupt to run key government agency or government parastatal, then you and I will agree that Nigeria has a lot to lose, if not the fact that we are losing right now from all of these programs.
There's the belief by some, even economists like yourself, saying that, look, these programs don't really have policy frameworks in the standard professional practical sense of the word. They say, well, they are all methods that come out of some knee-jerk approach and so on and so forth, just to quickly solve a problem today, and then in the end we're creating 4 more problems tomorrow. Talk to us about what should be the standard practice with regards to rolling out social investment programs.
Okay, so in a social investment program, there should be what government is willing to make as input, there should be expected output, and there should be the outcome. The challenge with social investment program over the years has been that apart from win, the government was able to write a proper plan as to what they intend to achieve and how they intend to reduce hunger, poverty, and boost businesses, which includes Shopee program, giving money to young entrepreneurs, and also pairing people to work with another organization to reduce unemployment. What we have seen in recent time is collecting database, some of which are even for political party members, and sharing money to them at the grassroots. Most of the monies are not really impacted. It's not different from what some states do. When chief executive win a state election, what they do some of the time is that they start recruiting teachers, whether the people are qualified or not. And so don't be surprised that some states, when it comes to their performance in WAEC, it has always been at the bottom because teaching was a method of compensation, not as a result of competence. Most of the people that have been within the teaching practice are those in those states, are those that were compensated. I remember that I got an engagement in one of the states that I said we should have.
I understand that we're losing sound there with Paul Alaje. We will keep on trying to get optimal sound outputs from him so we can continue this conversation. But his points are very clear. He's talking about how that we've fallen short. We have dropped the ball with regards to how social investment programs should be coordinated. And first of all, even rolled out in the first instance. He has talked about what government should be doing ideally by way of making contribution, making inputs, and so on and so forth. And then how that there's more of politics maybe in the mix than you should have economics, you should have social concerns, and all of those frameworks that are vital for this kind of programs.
And then he also mentioned how menial this particular sector has been in the society, with most of individuals actually joining the poverty wagon instead of being empowered, instead of being instead of gaining from all of this. It's just so sad to hear why these issues keep coming up, and it's just unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Let's believe Paul has been able to rejoin. Now, Paul, are you still there?
I'm here.
Yeah, you were making a very salient point a while ago. Would you be kind enough to continue?
Oh, I didn't know that the network has actually locked me out of the conversation.
For about 2 minutes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
So I really don't know where the last point you got, so that I can
you were
connect.
Talking about how that even governors compensate party members with teaching jobs. I mean, where you had an engagement in the States. There's some freeze being noticed with that video right now. We'll continue to make efforts to ensure that we get Paul Alaje on, because this is a very topical conversation.
Very sensitive.
Especially given the amount of corruption allegation, the magnitude of it that we have come to hear of, some we have even seen. For example, the EFCC says it has a lot of evidence against Sadia Umar Farouk and Betta Edu. These are as they say, predecessor and successor respectively. And it's only normal, it's only constitutional that the anti-graft agency does all it can, all it should within the eye of the law, right, to investigate them, and where necessary, prosecute as well.
Actions will be taken. It's very important.
All right, we're taking a quick break now. When we return, we'll make sure that we get Paul Alaje back on the program. Do stay with us. We understand we have a Paul back on the program. So, Paul, I'm just going to maybe switch lanes for a second on this discussion right now. Okay, let's talk about transparency for a process like this, because in Nigeria today, it appears it is not, as it were, it's not fashionable to talk about transparency, probity, and accountability. Aren't those supposed to be very fundamental elements in terms of social investment programs, so we are able to track progress and check impact?
No, without transparency, there is no future. If there is no transparency within the programs of government, even in private sector, if there is nothing like transparency, then we cannot make progress. So one of the reasons why Nigeria remain like this, and we have so much spoken about corruption, but this corruption remains endemic, it is because of lack of transparency. Some person's interest feels to be hampered when transparency is available. So my advice to government that have currently suspended some of these key programs is that the programs themselves may not be entirely wrong, but how do we make this program very transparent? One, we have said for somebody to register to vote, the person must go through a particular registration process. Two, we have also said that all SIM card must be registered, even though we have seen in recent time that when it comes to fighting insecurity, we have not been able to optimize those registrations very well. So human beings that we are giving funds, we are supporting. it is expected that they have NIMC number. Can we know them? Can we know where they live? Can we check? Are they really poor? How much can they afford? So if a Minister A or Mr. A or Mr. B claims to be spending XYZ amounts on social investment program, who are the persons that are social victims that are benefiting from these programs of government? So if you say we're helping 1 million people, 10 million people, where do they live? With their BVN as well as their NIMC card, NIM, we can trace them. Civil society organization can find out about them. And I think this is the way to go.
All right. I have a question to ask. Are you with us? Okay.
Yes, I am. I'm with you.
Looking at the president putting all of these social investments on hold, do you think this is one of the best decisions, or you think it's going to cause a setback when it comes to empowering some of the less privileged and vulnerable in the society?
Well, with all the programs, President Buhari, which is, of course, the most recent president before President Tinubu, what he put in place for social investment program. Let's look at the numbers. If we are truly empowered or we have really helped, on annual basis, we have never added less than 5 million people to poverty line. Not my figures, National Bureau of Statistics and World Bank. This is what they revealed. So the program in themselves are not beneficial enough to the people we claim we are helping. At best, it is sustaining them in poverty. How much are we sharing to people? In some cases, 5,000. And I don't know if we've started 10,000 naira. What is minimum wage today? 30,000. Now, for you to remain above poverty line, you need to earn $1.95. Multiply $1.95 by official rate, which is about, if you like, 1,000 or 850. The money we are sharing, will it even help them to leave that poverty line? Using that as parameter. Look at the people that live under multidimensional poverty as of 2022, December, 133 million. Can 5,000, 10,000 take them out of those? What we should be doing is to grow our rural community. Whether we go through rural electrification, let's copy example of what has been done in India, where most of their poor women were taught how to build solar. So in areas where they don't have light, they have built mega solar stations to provide electricity for this community. Government paid 100% for experts to train them, especially women with children without family, especially what do we call them, widows. There has no one to help them. So they can earn. So they now form what you can call electricity authority of some sort among women themselves, coming out together as cooperative. One estate after the other. They were providing them with 20.
Oh, unfortunately, the signal has started again. I was still looking at this. It's very crucial for what Mr. Paul Alaje is actually saying. Looking at it critically, it makes a lot of sense. It does, and it's just unfortunate to see that this particular social investments are going to be on hold. It's going to affect a lot of people. But really, how many people have actually benefited from this social investment? Like when you mentioned the NIMC and when you mentioned the NIM, coming out and saying, okay, I've helped 10,000 people. Okay, 10,000 people that have benefited. Where are they? I don't think really it's really mega when it comes to the development of the society as a whole.
I totally agree with you, because he also made reference to data coming out of the National Bureau of Statistics. I mean, that's how authoritative and credible it can get.
Of course.
So if the NBS is saying, look, this is what we have in terms of people who have been added to poverty bracket, or those who have been lifted out of poverty, it is what it is now. Government can't even fight it, because the NBS, yes, the NBS is an agency of the government, and we understand they have a level of autonomy or independence, as the case may be, and things like that. So the concern chiefly is, how do we track progress? So it's not a matter of one minister or one agency, DG, coming to tell us what has happened. Let's all see credible data in that direction. By the way, Joe, we understand that Paul is back on the program.
Well, I'm so sorry that the network is really not stable.
Okay.
It's none of your making. It's okay.
It's okay.
So thank you. So as I was saying, what program can impact our people, especially women. Because when you lift a woman out of poverty, you can be sure you have lifted all our children out of sin.
Oh, yes.
So, and it's the children that forms a nation. So how do we look at India? India has the largest population in the whole world now. Last year, India overtook China. One would expect that India as a nation, which is also a developing nation, should have more poor people in the world. But that's not the case. India was with the batting of poverty. In fact, it used to be China that has the largest population. China lifted over 200 million people out of poverty in 20 years. That's at that time, the population they lifted out of poverty was more than the entire Nigerian population. What did they do? I'll tell you. Now, India took the batting from China. Now, India has the largest population in the world and took that same batting and gave to a country with the 6th largest population, because America is the 3rd largest population. Pakistan did not receive it. India gave it. Guess which country took it? Nigeria. You know why? Because the programs and projects they adopted in those countries, Nigeria is not ready. China used to do hand-to-mouth policy like Nigeria is doing, which is give people some amount of money, you know, to buy things, to live. Those are programs that should be there, but they should not be the priority of government. Even in Europe, government support people who have no job, but that is not permanently. Government job is to ensure that they have something to do. It's only for sustenance. But when we now take that as core part of our budget, then we have a problem. So what should we be looking at? How do we create structures or an empowerment of some sort that we help to lift our population out of poverty? And this will come via investment. It will come with growth. It will come by providing useful skill, education. Education in this case does not mean going to university or polytechnic. No, it's providing people with knowledge that can give them ability to earn. We have seen quite a number of programs, but what has been the impact of all of these programs? You know, it's not to go to a rural community, and what I see mostly on television is the emotion. People say, oh, government have come, they are giving us money. You see they're thanking them in Yoruba, in Hausa, in Igbo. But have you really helped those people out of poverty? It's not about the emotion. Economics is not emotional. What economics bother about is what is happening to your average meal. Can you afford to eat 3 times daily, or has it reduced to 1? What economics is about is when you devalue your currency, the quality of life of your people, did it improve or did it increase? Did it reduce? What economics bothers about is when your inflation is 28%, the prices of commodity, is it killing your people or making them stronger? What economics bother about is what is happening to unemployment. Are your people that are willing, those that are willing and able to get job, are they really physically engaged, doing work minimum 40 hours a week? That is what economics bother about. But what do we see in the reality is to find a way to sustain people. And transactions that are through cash or that are sent to people personally, they are not just damaging our economy. They are also damaging the integrity of our nation. And that is why my recommendation to government is look for a sustainable program for the poor. Sustainable program. I remember last dispensation, government said it was going to give about 7 billion naira to young people. Was it 7 billion? I'm not sure now. After the NSAS, where is the impact? Nobody is asking. It's the impact of that money. Later, we heard that government is going to distribute money and ask people to cut grass, and I don't know if the grass have not grown by now. What is the impact of these policies on our economy? Meanwhile, there are other alternative policies that we could have adopted that will bring sustainable growth, you know, that will bring food supply, and so on and so forth. We need to look at what other nations that are not so developed are doing, and they are surpassing us. This is how we can liberate our people from hunger, liberate our people from poverty and deprivation.
All right, Mr. Paul, I have a question in line with all of what you have just said. Do you think, now looking at the ministers, when it comes to Sadiya Umar Farouk, who is on investigation, and of course Betta Idu, who is suspended, do you think these ministers did not understand the efficacy of their office in which they were holding to deliver to the masses instead of all of these allegations surrounding them?
Well, as an economist and as someone who has sworn to the whole to defend the profession, we are restrained from discussing people. So I may not be able to make comments regarding Betta Edu and the Wajia Farouk. I may not be able to make direct comment about them, but I will talk around the issues.
Okay.
Here is the issue. The program they are running, at best, that is the result it will give. All around the world, where those programs have been adopted, there have been allegations of corruption by the officials running them. It's not new. Because anything that has to do with cash, go and check. In India, government have started pushing for e-transaction for almost the least transaction, such that they can monitor the whole transaction and everything that is happening. Are you not surprised that a dispensation that said Nigeria we should change the color of money, reduce money that people can withdraw from ATM, the same dispensation is taking cash, displaying on table and giving to people? Is that not a mismatch? Because one moment you are saying under cashless policy, this is what you want to do. The other policy is saying that you want to distribute cash and give to people. So all those programs in themselves are faulty. The programs government must run to help people out of poverty are not those programs. You can go and read about poverty reduction around the world and which of them adopted those programs to lead people out of poverty. I tell you none. So if we truly want to help our people and lead people out of poverty, we must change our approach, irrespective of who is there. We must get to a point as a nation where emphasis is not on the persons, but the emphasis must be on the system, such that whosoever, no matter how powerful or powerless the individuals that are in office are, then the system will be above them and shape them to size as to what the nation wants. Unfortunately, if we don't do that, we will continue to see more people get to office, even when we call them saints, or they wear white, they cover their faces, they go to churches every time, they sleep in their salat, after salat, they sleep in the mosque, or they sleep in the church. It really do not matter. What matters for economic growth is building sustainable system that is formed and the law of the land is willing to protect. When we get to that point, we will see that even people that may want to be corrupt, the system will easily throw them out and will be able to take decision as to what the law of the land says.
All right, let's begin to wrap it up now real quick, Paul. I mean, you mentioned the inflation a while ago. For the records, news coming out this morning says the figure is not 29, but maybe that's a discussion for later. Let's backtrack to education, which you mentioned in your narrative just a while ago. All right, I mean, you were talking about how that education must be growth focused, right? The world is now talking about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Is Nigeria ready for that conversation?
Well, I doubt if Nigeria is ready for that conversation, because in a country where when you talk of STEM, electricity play a key role in providing this education. I'm not sure if you are running on diesel or on generator or you are using electricity where you are broadcasting from in Abuja. I don't know, but I doubt if you are doing that. So then the quality of teachers that are providing this education, the current awareness of those providing this education, is also a different conversation entirely. How aware are those that are providing this teaching and education? It's a different ballgame entirely. STEM is the way to go. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. If you want to build the future that we claim we have, because whether we are okay with what we are doing right now is a different ballgame, which I don't think we are okay as a nation. At least using economy and security as parameters to measure. These are two key parameter functions of government that we must measure per time. But I can tell you we are not. Now, having said those, what should we be looking at in terms of education? It has to be STEM. It has to be. I understand the importance of arts, importance of commercial and social sciences, but those who will help form the future for us, the champions of the future must come from those number of kids that are in STEM. And my recommendation is that 2/3 of our students should be within that area. 2/3 of all our children that should school. But even those that are in arts, how many out of school children do we have? Some say 10 million, some say 12 million. But we know we don't have less than 10 million people. In the real sense, go to some community around Nigeria, you see that we may have up to 15 million people. I don't know, maybe that's what the recent data have said. About 15 million people. That is a country. But we are talking of uneducated country. We are talking of a country of illiterate. The power of those 15 million in the next 15 years is enough to subdue a nation that is educated. Because weapon in their hand is for mass destruction without knowing that it's for protection. That is why, as a nation, we must ensure that not just do we discuss them, but ensure that all schoolable children, I beg your pardon, are within the four walls of schools, especially primary and secondary education, must be provided by us as a people and as a nation.
Conversation, it just gets more protracted by the day, but it's an ongoing development with regards to how we administer and coordinate social investment initiatives in this country. My colleague Juma and I would like to thank you, Paul, very specially for allowing us crack through your schedule this Monday.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Incidentally, Juma, I mean, Paul is talking and all I'm thinking in my head is how do we straighten things out with regards to how we get the country moving in specific directions. For example, we'll spend the last few minutes talking with Paul about administration of social investment programs. And he did make a point. He said, look, he's trained not to talk about people, I mean individuals, but let's focus on the issues. Now, question is, what are those issues? First of all is sincerity of purpose. You're rolling out a program that's laudable, it's commendable. In fact, it's epic, it's grand.
Exactly.
However, how sincere are those
also.
Exactly behind those programs? And then we'll move on to the issue of transparency, probity, accountability. I remember a state, I mean, we had a governor in one of the states in the South where you could ask him how much he spent fixing a particular road. Whether he declared the right figure or not was a different ballgame. But people realize that you actually can ask the governor, how much did you spend fixing this road? It's our road, after all. More importantly, it's our money as well.
You pay tax.
Exactly.
Don't you? So what do we say?
So there's a reason we call it taxpayers' money.
Exactly.
But then there are also governors, you can't even ask such questions, no matter how polite you are about them, no matter how formal you are about them, because they feel they have now become some sort of Greek god. So we need to have sincerity of purpose. We need to have people who are patriotic. We need to have people who understand the issues they are even coming into office to fix, whether these people are elected or appointed. I think those are some of the issues that he has just been raising the whole time.
It's very important. He has really spoken very well, and you see how enlightened when we ask these sort of questions, it gives us a sense of purpose as an individual of a particular nation or country, which is very important.
Incidentally, that's what we're living it this morning on the program. Thank you, everyone, for spending a part of your morning with us. Juma and I saying thank you and have a great day ahead of you.
Good morning.